Very good evening. This is a Subcommittee Public Safety. It's starting at 5:30. If Mr. Clerk, please call the roll, please.
Chairman Noon.
Here.
Council Leahy. Here. Council Milonazo.
Here.
3 present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The purpose of today's subcommittee hearing is that because we have not met for some time and just want to get an update from the chief, in this case is Deputy Goldner, regarding any crime and crime prevention. And there's 2 topics here. One with regard to crime and crime prevention, the other looking to talk to you about staffing and resource, if there's any need for that. With all that said, I give the floor to Deputy Goldner. Go ahead, sir.
Councilors, so regarding the recent crime, and I know I talked to Councilor Noon about, particularly he was interested in the Highlands area and the neighborhood and the recent breaks that had occurred in the Highlands. So back in April and May, there was a string of increased breaks into cars and breaks into homes. I believe there were 6 house breaks and then 14 car breaks over the course of April and May. As a result of that, the area officers and director response officers were able to identify, along with detectives, several individuals that were involved, as well as a house that it looked like they were staying at I believe it was Oakland Street in the Highlands. So they were all removed from the home. Over the course of time, they were identified. Some had been charged. And then there were no breaks or no crimes related to that group of individuals. Subsequent to that, there was another group of house breaks that were occurring. Some occurred in the Highlands, or the majority were in the Highlands. There was one in Belvedere, I believe, and this was a more intricate series of breaks where there was more expensive items taken and another pattern. The Criminal Bureau detectives, working with other police departments in New Hampshire as well, were able to identify the individual and several individuals involved. The individual involved in doing the breaks was arrested and is currently still being held. And since that time, I believe it was July 18th, there was only one other house break in the Highlands, and it was a apartment building where they believe that the person involved in that break was from inside the building. So it's totally unrelated. There's been no other incidents since that period of time. If the person is released or out on bail, he may be extradited to the state of New Hampshire and or placed on conditions of a GPS monitoring device so that if he is released, we'll be able to monitor his activities. But since that period of time, we've had good luck. We had a meeting, Captain Kilmartin and I, in the Highlands. We did a street corner meeting last night at Callery Park, which was very well attended. There was probably over 40 residents of the Highlands. All these topics were brought up, as well as target hardening and some crime prevention issues for the residents and what they can do. And we talked over the basics, the standards of increased lighting, letting your neighbors know when you're away, decreasing your activity, and especially even your children's activity, and letting everyone in the world know on social media that you're away on vacation, which seems to be it can be a problem. Especially if the children are putting away that on their social media that they're going to be away for a week or two, and now it's out there for everyone to look at, and they know that you're not home. So we talked about those issues, and residents were talking about increasing, security systems. We talked about a new program that the police department's working with, the Ring cameras, which I don't know the exact cost of the Ring cameras, and there is a cost associated, but what's happening now is the police department is able to go online. The detectives right now is the first group of people, and they're able to go online, and they're actually to talk to people and residents that do have the cameras. There's not a strict identification, so that that there is some anonymous parts to this, but they're able to go on and comment and talk to people, and the people will post videos, and the police officers are able to communicate, and so far it's been working out. We're still working out the bugs, but increase in videos, and when there's a break in the area and the officers are able to communicate with residents that have cameras and go on and see all the cameras basically citywide that Ring has. And I guess that's really helping out the detectives. We've we've been utilizing the new UTV, it's like an ATV, utility vehicle on the Riverwalk, all the parks, especially during, I know that Lieutenant Peasley has the Charlie sector, the downtown offices, especially anytime there's a game at the Spinners at LaLasha Park, the officers are out patrolling behind the Riverwalk before and after the game, and he actually makes a point of the officers meeting up or meeting with him to collect paperwork, so there's more visibility. They've been clearing out, keeping the homeless around that ballpark, and that seemed to work out. They've met with all the residents of the apartments over there several times and trying to keep up on what's going on the Riverwalk and all the activities, especially with the nicer weather and the increased activities over there. Staffing, new thing. This afternoon and by tomorrow, the downtown precinct will be fully open. All the computers, everything is in, and they're moving in. We'll be closing the John Street precinct, so that'll give a lot more visibility in the downtown area. The officers will be working out of the downtown precinct full-time now. The John Street precinct will only be for animal control, so it'll be closed to any of the patrol office. So everyone will be high visibility. Downtown with the redeployment seems to be working very well. We're receiving a lot of positive feedback about the officers on foot patrol, and Captain Kennedy and Lieutenant Peasley have been basically giving fixed posts for officers at certain times during high commute, morning traffic, later afternoon, and again when school starts up, we'll be redeploying the officers to make sure that before and after school, when you go through the downtown, the main corridors, you should be able to see, or you should be seeing Lowell police officers on several corners between the Appleton, Middlesex Street corridor and the Merrimack Street, Central Street area.
Deputy, the break-in incident in the Highlands, you indicated that the most recent one was in July 18. So there's been some sort of a break in between, right? So between April and May, and then June, there seemed to be nothing, and then July, there's one incident, and that one incident the individual has now been apprehended and put on bail. Is that the? So
the last break, I believe, was July 18th, okay. But from June, the period, I believe, of June and the beginning of July, that's when that individual had committed some of the breaks. And as a result of that, he had subsequently been arrested and is still being incarcerated.
So there seemed to be a partnership now, from what you're saying, that the last night meeting, about 40 or so residents attend in the Highland area, that the message they get, though, that if you see something, say something. Also, on top of that, maybe using technologies to help the police department catching those who commit the crime. Is that what you're saying?
100%. We handed out the cards. We talked about see something, say something, and how important it is that any minute detail of what they see, they may not think it's that important or it's anything, but when they make a call to the police department and we go over and we might identify someone that later is involved in a crime or may have already been involved in a crime. And a couple of residents had talked about incidents where they probably should have called the police with someone suspicious, and so we talked about the importance of making a call, whether it be anonymous or leave their info, and call the police department, and we'll send the officers right over.
So was there a particular spotting area in the Highland that had happened? The incident between April and May? So a lot of it was in the Upper Highlands. You had some over by the Mount Pleasant Golf Course area, some off of the Pine Street. We had Princeton Boulevard corridor. It was mainly the Upper Highlands area at the time. And you also indicated the group of individuals that have committed those crimes, break-in, has been apprehended. Is that correct? For the most part, yes. The main players in it have been apprehended, charged, or are going through the court system. My other question is with the resource that you receive, that you said that you recently purchased, either utility vehicle or the river patrol craft. You use that to do a focus enforcement in the area, such as Riverwalk or the Merrimack River. Is that what you're doing with that? Yes, Councilor. So we're using the UTV for extra patrols. The directed patrol
officers who are specifically assigned to the Highlands are utilizing that, and going through the parks and using that for, the river walk and those areas that we can't get through, the homeless areas. So, as well as you said, the rivercraft and the boat that's out there that,
How many UTV, how many utility vehicle that was purchased recently?
Just one.
Just one?
We have an electric one that we've had for several years now, which we're utilizing as well. But the new one is a gas operated, and it has, windows and doors, so it can be used in inclement weather as well.
Okay. Well, what would be a message to not just the Highland neighborhood or resident that you met last night, but also to the resident of Lowell who watching now, as far as taking step themselves to prevent all this break-in? Would you say to them?
I think just be cognizant of what's going on around you. I'm sure, like Anne Marie can talk to you about the Centerville neighborhood group as well. The big thing would be see something, say something. Keep an eye on your neighbors, talk to your neighbors, and ask them if they've seen anything, or just basically keep lights on. If you're at the back of your house, if you have areas of your home which are vulnerable, maybe use some motion-sensitive lights so that if someone does come upon, that will normally deter them. And the biggest thing would be is I would say is if you see something in the neighborhood, you're driving out, you're driving to or from your house, and you see someone that doesn't belong or you don't think belongs in your neighborhood, or a car park that normally isn't there, just to call the non-emergency number of the police department, and we'll send someone right over to check them out.
Councilor Manazo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Deputy, for being here, and Chief Winwood, thank you for being here. My question has to do with summer's almost over and school's about to start again. Do we have our school resource officers assigned in the various schools that they have been, and does each alternative school have a resource officer at this point?
So, there are, as you know, there's a lot more schools than there are resource officers. And so what there are is there's specifically assigned officers, one to the freshman academy, several to the high school. And then with the remaining school resource officers, they split a certain number of schools each. So they're responsible to visit those schools throughout the week. If the principals have an issue or a problem, they will call that officer that's assigned to those schools first. If it's an emergency, of course, they call 911 or the 3200 number, and we'll send someone, the area patrol cruiser as well. But everything is in place for the start of the school with the resource officers. We just finished up the Student Police Academy, which was very well attended, very successful with all the SROs running that summer camp 2 sessions. So I think everything is in place for the start of school.
Right. Thank you. I think actually having police cruisers parked overnight at some of the schools too is helpful.
Yes.
Over by where I live over on Draper Street, there's always a cruiser at the Sullivan School overnight. So that's helpful. That's helpful. My other question, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
The relationship that the police department has with UMass Lowell Police and National Park Service officers, is it still as strong as it has been in the past with the UMass officers and the National Park Service?
I think it's even improved, and we've recently added, with this academy class that is in session right now for the Lowell Police Academy, we added UMass Lowell officers on staff as academy staff. So they've become even more partners with the city in terms of, that cooperation.
Okay, great, good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. You indicated that the resource officers for the high school, how many in the high school? The resource officers in the high school?
I didn't hear you.
How many resource officers in the Lowell High School?
I believe there's a sergeant and 2 other resource officers that are full-time to the high school.
Okay. And the rest, basically, you rotate them when need be.
If there's someone out at the high school, then the sergeant in charge, Sergeant Kelly, will pull one of the other officers to basically home base for the day out of the high school. But he or she will still monitor their schools and issues or problems that may happen at their individual schools.
I see. Thank you. Councilor Leahy?
Sure. Thank you. My question is, can you just explain a little bit of what's happening downtown? It looks like we have obviously more patrols. We got the new police station opening up there. So the presence is very good now. The businesses appreciate it. Can you just explain a little bit of how you change things up and what's happening down there?
Sure, yes, Council Leahy. So, in the past, prior to the redistricting, and adding the Charlie sector specific for downtown, you would have one, maybe Route 7, which is Merrimack Street corridor, Market Street, Central Street, maybe two sometimes, and then one in the Appleton Street, Middlesex Street. What the chief had done when he added, there's three now. There's 3 Route 8s, 3 offices that cover Appleton, Middlesex, Jackson Street, and that whole area, and 3 during the day shift that covers Middlesex and Market Street, Merrimack Street, Market Street, Central, the area around the high school. Also, there's 4 district response offices, 2 that are basically dedicated, non-pullable, to that area that work out of the precinct directly for the captain and the lieutenant. So any specific assignments that they have, whether it be, checking out, homeless encampments, anything. It could be a traffic enforcement. Those 2 officers are dedicated that they can't be pulled for the street. And then there's 2 that are pullable that are assigned to the area as well. So basically during the day shift now, we went from potentially 2 or 3 to 10 officers during the day shift. Full-time, and most of those are Monday through Friday, so they'll be there when the business community is in session, when school is in session, so that we have a greater presence during the daytime. And then at night, there's not as many, but you still have the 4 district response officers and at least 2 route officers, one in Route 7 and one Route 8, which is split between the 2 areas, Middlesex, Appleton, and Merrimack and Market Street area. So definitely an increased presence, and they have been using the UTV, the new vehicle, plus the other all-terrain vehicle that we have as well in the downtown area, especially during the bar closings and late at night, and using it in the alleys, so they're able to drive the alleys and make sure that things are going well.
Good. That sounds good. And the other thing is, we'd have to just have a discussion. So weekend visibility. I know it's probably more money and more resources, but when I was downtown a couple of weekends ago, it'd be nice to see a few more faces during the weekend, so maybe we can have a discussion on that. We get more visitors stop in on the weekends, and then, bless you, Michael, and then, so it'd be nice to have a few more faces during the weekend when more visitors come in and check
Unfortunately,
out the city, so.
over the past few years, there's been a change in trend where most of the liquor establishments used to hire a police detail, which would obviously help and augment any officers that are downtown. I checked today, and I don't think there's one liquor establishment that hires a detail. So the only officers that are extra we hire through city funds, 4 officers, 1 supervisor, and 3 officers, or 2 or 3, every single Friday and Saturday night for a downtown patrol, because there really isn't anyone monitoring the bars. Obviously, it'll even get bigger crowds, and problems will become worse. I guess when the university comes back into session, there'll be a lot more patrons at the liquor establishments, and the potential for more problems. We've been in conversation with the university as well about having one of their offices downtown, and they help us so that, because they're able to identify the students, and they're probably more afraid of being identified and having sanctions through the university and or housing than they would be through anything that happens with the police department. So that's a big help when they are able to come down.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Councilor? Well, I also just want to acknowledge presence with us is Anne Marie Page, one of the leader of the community group with us from Centerville, but not just Centerville, but the whole city. Also, Chief Winwood, if you have anything to add to your work with the fire department, sir.
Thank you, Councilor. Yes, we've had a pretty busy summer. We've had 7 significant fires around the city. Just last week, we had a fire on Rock Street where 9 people were displaced. No injuries of the tenants. A couple of firefighters had minor injuries, but nothing serious. The weekend of the Folk Festival, we had a large fire on Cross Street. And they had working smoke detectors, and the firefighters got there quickly and quickly knocked down the fire, so nobody got hurt. There were 35 people in the building at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there was a serious fire. So, like I said, the firefighters did a great job. They had working smoke detectors, and There was a few minor injuries with the firefighters, but none of the tenants were injured. 337 Westford Street, next to Captain John's, we had a pretty significant fire at the end of June. Once again, all the people got out because of the working smoke detectors and the quick response of the firefighters. And then on Tanner Street, we had a large fire at one of the Scandal Boiler Works buildings. And it was a very labor-intensive fire. It was a hot night, but once again, nobody got hurt. So I'd like to just commend the firefighters for all the great work. On a positive note, the number of overdoses are still down this summer by almost 30%, which is due to all the hard work of all the first responders in the city, the different task forces we have with the mayor's opiate task force and the district attorney's opiate task force, the co-op team's working very hard. I just want to thank everyone that's been working so hard against the opiate epidemic, and we're finally starting to see some better numbers. We're in the process of hiring 7 firefighters. They're going to be starting in January to replace retiring firefighters. There's a long delay to get them into the fire academy, but it'll be good to fill those positions and get them on the street next spring. We just received 152 sets of turnout gear and all new breathing apparatus for the firefighters, as well as a cascade air system to fill the air bottles for the breathing apparatus. Due to an Assistance to Firefighters grant that we got from the federal government and a 10% match from the city. So it'll be great to replace that equipment. The SCBA's have thermal images, so each firefighter will have a thermal imager on his body when he goes into a fire now. So it will make things a lot safer for both the firefighters and for the public. The city was, thanks to the support of the city council and the city manager, we were able to get funding to purchase a new engine for the Highlands, Engine 7. So we formed a committee to look at different vendors and to come up with a design for the type of engine that we need for that house and that neighborhood. And we hope to purchase that as soon as possible. And that'll be a great addition to our fleet. Our fleet is aging, and we'll get rid of our oldest engine and replace it with a brand new one. So that'll be good for the public as well as the firefighters. We had a very successful folk festival. We had a low number of medical emergencies. The weather was pretty good. It wasn't too hot. We had our safe house out on Market Street, and we had a lot of kids come through to learn about fire safety, and that worked out well. Coming up, we're going to have a car seat installation event. That's going to be coming up in October. There'll be some more information coming out about that. It'll be October 12th. We're going to partner with Lowell General and try to bring in some new parents, and we got a grant to purchase about 150 car seats. So we'll be giving them away to people that have expired car seats or they can't afford a car seat, and we'll be training them the proper way to install a car seat to make things a little bit safer for the children. The school year is about to start, so we'll be inspecting all the schools in the city and testing all the fire alarm systems. And we also work with the staff up at UMass Lowell, and in September every year we go through all the dorms and test all their fire alarm systems to make sure they're working properly. So we have that coming up. And over the summer, Shauna Forcier organized 4 or 5 neighborhood walks, and they were very successful. We got together with representatives from fire prevention, the building department, health inspectors, the police, and the various, thanks to Anne Marie Page and her neighborhood group leaders, we got together with the neighborhood groups, and we walked through some of the neighborhoods on a Saturday morning. And we looked for different code violations and things like, I know Anne Marie's a stickler on mattresses piled up against buildings, car tires, illegal work that was done without a permit. And we found quite a few violations, and we issued warnings, and we followed up and fined people when necessary. And we're trying to clean up the neighborhoods a little bit, and also get to go out on the street. It's kind of an expansion on neighborhood policing to get to know the neighbors and the business owners in the different neighborhoods. And those neighborhood walks were very successful. So that's a quick summary of what's been going on in the fire department this summer.
Thank you, Chief. Councilor Manazzo, any question? Councilor Leahy?
Sure. How long do you think Chief, how long do you think it'll take you in the committee to come up with the specs for the new engine?
We're hoping to come up with the specs soon, probably in about another month or so. But then it's a pretty long process for the manufacturer to design the truck and to build it. It's usually unfortunately, it's about a 9-month lead time. So sometimes it can be up to a year before we get a new truck. We will look at some pre-built trucks that are out there to try to expedite it a little bit. But one of the issues we have with the Pine Street station is the length of the truck. Most of the pre-built trucks are a little bit too long to fit in that station. It's kind of a smaller station. So we may have to have one custom built, so it may take a little bit longer, but we're looking at some different options right now.
Is it worth it to do a bump out on the building, or is that a structural?
There'd be a significant cost to it,
Yeah.
but probably a bump out probably wouldn't work. There are several rooms behind where the truck is stored, so I could take a look at it a little bit more
Well, I
thoroughly.
just wondered if one was versus the other, so.
Sometimes if the entrance isn't high enough, we can bump that up, but as far as making the apparatus bay deeper, there's concrete involved, and there's a basement underneath that the floor would have to be reinforced behind it, and it'd be a pretty significant project, I think.
All right, and you said most of the, if not all of the, turnout gear is in?
Yes, just about all the turnout gear is in, and each firefighter has 2 sets now, and each firefighter should have either a new or a year-old set. And we have the new extractors, so we can rotate the sets and keep all the gear clean and try to help with the safety of the firefighters and the health and well-being as well.
All right, we have to do a better job as a council keeping up with the fire department to make sure that your equipment is maintained in a regular schedule, you know?
Sure, we're in pretty good shape right now with turnout gear and SCBA's, but our fleet is really aging and the buildings are always an issue, so we'll work on those 2 things.
We'll work on that too.
Sure.
And one quick thing to Deputy Goldner, we're still working do repairs at the fire department, at the main building. How do you think that's coming along?
So I guess we were just waiting the contract. The law department had already passed the contract to Mike Vaughn purchasing, so the renovation of all the locker rooms and restrooms downstairs should be starting soon. So that should be all set.
Okay, all right. We don't want to forget the boys in blue there, so. And I'm sorry, to bounce back, Chief, one quick thing. Fire prevention. So we're working on that with the law department and the manager's office to get that office moved over to possibly High Street. So we'll keep you informed with that, and hopefully that's going to happen soon.
Pine Street?
Yeah, right, go from Mammoth Road to Pine.
Yeah, I thought you said Pine Street.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I may have, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That'll be a big thing to do, so.
Yeah, that building on Mammoth Road is in tough shape, especially when it rains. So we'd like to get them moved as soon
Oh,
as
yeah,
possible. I
we're
know the
behind the
manager.
8 ball on that, so.
Yeah, I know the manager and her staff are working hard on that, so
Yeah.
I'll give you an update as soon as I get one on that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank
Quick
you.
question, if I could, Mr. Chairman, for
Go ahead,
Chief
sir.
Winwood, thank you. The Oakland Firehouse seems to be busy lately when you drive by. Is there training going on there now, or?
Yes, that's our training center out there.
Okay.
And we have various drills during the year, and the fire companies will drive their trucks out there. There might be 3 or 4 trucks at a time out there.
Yeah.
And we have training officers out there that train people on the newest techniques. Sometimes we'll bring in outside people from the Mass Fire Academy to teach classes. We may be having an EMT class coming up in the fall. So there is quite a bit of training that goes on out there, as well as around the city in different areas, but that's our main hub for our training.
Yeah, just lately it seems to be very busy, which is, positive obviously for the firefighters and for the neighborhood, so.
Exactly,
thank
sure.
you.
Yeah.
Well, I concur with Councilor Leahy is that we expect a lot of our law enforcement, the fire department as well, the police department. The least we could do is to provide you enough resources to do your job, So I concur with that. Chief, you mentioned that the 7 significant fire this summer alone. Do we learn anything from it? What's the cause of it?
Different causes. One of them was a freak thing. It was a house struck by lightning. One of them was a child that was playing with matches. One of them was in a restaurant. It was a fire that started on the stove top and went up the chimney and got the roof burning. We had a dryer fire. One of them was a refrigerator, the bottom of a refrigerator that got hot, which is pretty unusual. So there seems to be all different reasons, but I encourage people to have working smoke detectors, to check their batteries. It's a good idea to change them when you change your clocks. The newer smoke detectors have sealed 10-year batteries in them. So they're good for 10 years, and you throw the whole unit away after 10 years. It's important to have them in all your sleeping areas, one on each level. It's good to have them inside the bedrooms. It's important to have working carbon monoxide detectors. It's important to have a plan to, what to do in case of a fire, especially if you have children in the house. And as Deputy Golden said, if you see something, if you smell something, if you hear an alarm going off, call 911 right away and get out of the house. We don't mind coming out, even if it's a false alarm, to check it out. We have thermal imaging cameras, and we can go through the house and make sure that there's nothing smoldering inside of a wall or something that you may not see. So it's very important to call 911 if you think you see something.
The neighborhood walk that you mentioned, how often does that happen? Is it on the weekend, and how often?
We did it 5 times this summer, and we did it on a Saturday on a weekend. And it's a good fire prevention tool to help people make their property safer, to move debris away from the house. If we see any illegal work going on, we'll force them to get a permit and do things according to code. So our fire prevention staff works every day to try to enforce these codes and make especially our bigger apartment buildings safer by following all the different fire and building codes.
Thank you. Joining us, Councilor Ronnie Elliott is here as well. Thank you, Councilor. So, any other question for the chief and the deputy chief?
Just if I could, to the deputy, how many sworn police officers do we currently have? I guess to look at the other side, how many openings do we currently have in the police department?
So there's currently 245, which includes 10 that are in the academy right now.
Okay.
And the manager recently approved the superintendent to look at lateral transfers from other departments to fill, because we lost a few from the academy due to either physical or academic issues, and so we'll look to fill those vacancies and get people on the street even quicker than having to run them through a police academy. But the academy is probably almost halfway through right now, so that'd be good. Figure after they do graduate, you're 3 months or so with training in service, and then they'll be able to hit the street with hopefully all 10 that are in there right now will finish their way through. So that'd bring us up to anywhere between 245 and 250. We have 11 out injured. A lot of them are short-term injuries, so just during the summer vacation period, staffing becomes a little difficult, but we're managing through with several of the grants we have to fill vacancies.
Thank you.
So now what you have is 245 include the 10 in the academy right now?
Yeah,
right?
so we're running 235 right now, and with the 10 that are positioned in the academy, it brings it up.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Chief?
We currently have 206. We're budgeted for 213, so we're short 7 right now from retirements. We're in the process of hiring 7, and we have 3 or 4 on injury. A couple of them may not be able to come back, and then next year we'll anticipate more retirements. So we'll try to plan ahead and hire people as we go along and replace the retirees.
Thank you, Chief. Councilor Elliott, any question, anything at all for the Chief?
No, I was just going to follow up on when is the next academy? Is there one scheduled, or is it once a year?
Yeah, right now the academies run once a year. It would be depending, if we really needed to get some people through, there are other academies that run throughout the state, but without having to do that, we run the academy once a year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott. With us also, Councilor Rita Murcia joining us. Thank you, Councilor Murcia. If there's no other question for the Deputy Chief and the Chief, I would entertain the motions to adjourn.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.